Anecdotes for success. Level up with truth, meaning, trade-offs, perspective.
Well, Matt, we have two guests that we said a while ago we were going to have on this podcast, two ex-students and two students that mentored under you. And of course, now we're all business partners. What a crazy world, huh? I'd like to welcome Cale and Silas. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Yeah,
Good.
guys, it's good to have you. Paul and I have been talking about having you on for a while now, and we've I guess we finally got to it. But just so others know, we are business partners. We do have a business together, the four of us, which has been a lot of fun and exciting, and we think there's a lot of growth opportunity there, and a lot more we can do with it. So we definitely wanted to have you guys on. You're younger and aspiring to be successful entrepreneurs. You're both in college right now, and we thought it'd be a good time to have you guys on and talk about your stories a little bit.
They're kind of like Cheez-Its, though. It just took us a while for them to mature.
Yeah.
We couldn't have them on before that, but we think they're ready. So let's have at it, guys. Tell the viewers about yourself a little. Who wants to start?
Cale, you can go first. Oh, all right. I guess I'll go first. I'm Silas. I've been friends with Cale forever. I've for a long time. Been around for 18 years, which isn't as long as Matt and Paul, but we've been friends for a long time. And I don't know. I just grew up in a small town, and Cale and I just kind of had this idea senior year. Paul was our teacher. Matt was a guest speaker. And I'm sure we'll get into the story more, but one thing happened after another, and now we're all business partners. And I mean, it's still weird to this day. Like, I'm a partner with my friggin' high school teacher. Like, that's just kind of weird. So,
Yeah.
All right, Cale.
Everyone, I'm Cale. Like Silas said, we've been friends for a while. Well, I wouldn't really say friends. I kind of hate his guts here and there. But we started a food truck together out of a short bus. That's been really exciting, driving around a short bus. And honestly, we got to thank Paul and Matt here, the hosts, for helping us find our way with that. Not to kiss up a little too much, but
Well, that's what we want to talk about, how that developed and where that came from. But as you guys said, you guys were seniors. You were in Paul's program, which is Paul, is it fair to say it's an entrepreneurial program at this point? Or, how would you describe it? Because I know it's evolved over time.
Yeah, so the title of it's Innovation, Leadership, and Business. So when I recruit seniors to interview for the program, well, while they're juniors, they're just people that want to be involved in business in some way, shape, or form, whether it's accounting or marketing or engineering. But at the end of the day, I mean, Matt, I know your opinion on this already. Entrepreneurship technically can drive all those fields. Like you can have a degree in any of those things, but why not get after it and take complete control of what you're trying to do with your life? So yeah, I mean, that's the long teacher answer, but the short version would be yes, it's an entrepreneurship class.
Well, and I wanted to ask both Cale and Silas. I'll start with you, Cale. What made you want to apply for that? Going back, it's not that long ago. What was your motive?
that's a good question. Honestly, I knew the program was really good because my sister was in the medical one, because there's like a few different classes there. And it just seemed like it would be a good opportunity. And the fact that it started at 9, so you get to sleep in an extra hour, that was pretty cool. I liked that. So there were a lot of pros for it. So I applied. Honestly, didn't really know what I was going to get out of it, and I'm very glad I did.
Yeah, so you were looking at it from outside of being able to wake up later. You were looking at it from not quite sure what you're going to get into, but heard good things kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Silas?
I kind of applied. I've kind of like Cale. I heard good things. I've always, I've been friends with Cale and his sister. So his sister told both of us that it was worth doing. and Paul was a great teacher, so that, you know, it was at least worth a shot to try and get in. And also personally, like I've always just, I'm a big money guy. I like to have money. I like to be able to have money to spend, to have money to have. I like to have money. And I know that like one of the best ways to get money is through business. And so I figured why not learn more about it for the future. And then I ended up starting a business. So it honestly all worked out in the end.
So on that same kind of discussion, and I'll start this time with you, Silas. Excuse me. Outside of the cheese bus and the business that came from it, what did you get out of the class? Where was the value in it for you?
I mean, I made a lot of friends with people outside of my school district, friends that I still talk to. Paul knows them, like Cale and I stay in contact with Jeg and Luke all the time. We talk all the time. And also it was nice to be able to get out and meet people kind of like you, Matt, just people that are actually in the world. Because when you're in high school, you're kind of sheltered to just that one spot, and you can't really, like, you know, you have people come in every now and then, but they really don't, it's not the same.
Yeah. And Cale, how about you?
Honestly, I think Sal's just said it best. You're sheltered in high school. When we went to New Visions, like besides that first week where we were all like dead silent, feeling each other out, it's entirely different from high school because it's all hands, or not necessarily hands-on, but like applicable to the real world. Besides maybe like reading Othello, but
Yeah,
now that you guys
that out.
Now that you guys are in college and interacting with students at, you know, your respective universities there, colleges there, as you talk about that experience, excuse me, are you finding that anybody else from any other schools have had similar things, or is it like totally unique, or what are you finding in any of those conversations?
anyone I've mentioned, like, oh, I took like a business class in high school too, they're like, oh yeah, the final was kind of tough, but like it wasn't really that good. And like I just kind of think like, oh, we actually did things and like went on rotations and like met with people. And everyone else just kind of like read stuff in a book. And they could probably tell me more like factual things, but they didn't actually get the, I don't want to say like the knowledge, but the skills from it, I guess.
That's a great point. We had a book. Do you remember it?
Oh yeah, I remember the book.
No.
Matt, we did it. We do assignments every Monday that are due a quiz and a chapter. We rarely went over it because what they don't realize at the end of the course is everything we experienced was basically hands-on from the book. So, I mean, Matt and I are big readers, and you got to understand the value of building a foundation for everything. But I think what really attracts a high school student is they don't even realize when they're doing something in a book that they're piggybacking it with that experience. And that's what we did. So hopefully someday we'll get Cale and Silas to read a little more.
Maybe.
But again, I think what drew you is the action we take, right?
Yeah.
And well, let me ask you this, Paul. I've been waiting to ask you this one. When you met Cale and Silas, at what point did you realize these guys are going to have a great idea and someday we're all going to be business partners together?
Why am I laughing?
I can't think of any reasons.
No, you know what? In all seriousness, we like, I'm a big component of, I don't think you have to like get stressed out and have a ton of homework to learn. I think having fun and having experience and building relationships helps you learn. And we hear a lot of crazy ideas in New Visions. This is my 7th year doing it. And their idea was just as crazy as the next. But what was special about Cale and Silas is they actually did something about it. I mean, you could judge whether anybody's idea is good or bad. And Matt, we talk all the time. It doesn't matter until you actually try it. You know,
Yeah.
and these guys tried it, and it's still a little overwhelming. You know, it's still mind-boggling. We're at this point now, from where we were a year ago. And I didn't even think I would ever be part of it. I just was a big fan of it. But these guys took action, and that's the first part of success. I mean, you can't wait till you're 25 to take action, or say, well, when I'm 30, I'll take action. Or, no, when my kids are grown up and I'm 50, I'll take action. They just did it. I don't think they had any expectations. Did you guys? I mean,
Not really.
Yeah, let's kind of back up and start from the beginning there, because this is the story, at least, of our relationship, and why we're all business partners and working together on what I consider a very exciting project, and something that I think has a lot of potential, and that we can all be successful with in the long term. But why don't we back up and you guys tell the story a little bit about how this started, where Paul fits in, where I fit in, where you guys fit in, and give everyone a little bit of a sense of it. Because you guys, you probably don't listen to us that much on the podcast here because you're so busy with your studies. But Paul and I really haven't talked about this too much, really at all. And so go ahead and you can, say what the business is, what we do. But really, you guys were the genesis behind it, as Paul said. And the action was the only way it would have started, and that's your credit, nobody else's. So kind of give us the long version, if you will, of how this evolved.
So all right, I guess I'll take lead here. It actually, as funny as it sounds, it actually started with both you, Matt and Paul, because when we were in class, it was just like a normal day, and Paul had told us the day before that a guy named Matt Huffnagel was going to come in and talk to us about business. And it's kind of like, okay, another guest speaker. And you came into class with a Steelers shirt on, and I was like, okay, so this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And so you came in, and honestly, I mean, I really paid attention to what you were saying, and it actually did interest me, like the 4 pillars thing. I was thinking about it after class, like, that's actually a good way of thinking about things. And then the next day, Paul had us come up with 5 business ideas based off of like the pillars that you had, like, so that they were at least a viable idea. And Cale came up with something like DJ food truck or something like that. Like, it was just like something really random. And I think I said like cheese cart or something like that, like just so random that it
was just various cheese.
It wasn't even an idea at that point. And it ended up, fortunately, I was at Cale's house that night, and we were having dinner, and his mom asked us what we had done that day during class. And we told her, and then we kind of put the 2 ideas together. And I remember looking at Cale and being like, what if we did like a cheese truck, like for the wineries around here, like that could actually, that could actually work. And we just kind of talked about it for a week. It was kind of every now and then we talked about it. And then we really were like, wow, like this could actually work. And we both remembered that you, Matt, said, if you guys have any business ideas or anything business related you want to talk about, feel free to reach out. And so we got your info from Paul, and I'm not sure if you remember, Matt, but I remember the first phone call. Like, Cale and I honestly were both like very nervous, like, geez, like we're about to pitch this idea to this, obviously you had better things to be doing with your time, so it's kind of like, we better make this good. And so I remember Cale and I were both in quarantine, and along with the rest of our class, and we were sitting in my room, and I called you, and this was a couple of calls after the idea. And actually, let me back up here. So we had the idea, we talked to you, Matt, and then Cale and I started to do our own research, and we realized very quickly that there's absolutely no way we could afford this. And also, since we weren't 18, there was no way we could take out a loan. So like, there was actually no way. And so we called you to pitch the idea to you, if you want to be a partner. And obviously you said yes. And then things just kind of took off from there. A couple weeks later, I picked you up from Walmart, and we drove to Used Bus World, picked out a bus, and then we just kind of started to work. And Cale and I, over the winter, I remember being in the bus. It was below freezing temperatures. Just we had this little space heater. We're just taking out bus seats, throwing them in the snow. I remember my parents got mad at me because we had left bolts in the driveway, and it was just, it's honestly, it's something that Cale and I both like had, that we shared, that it's just a very memorable experience. And then we had our first day. We went for a while. We realized that all three of us didn't have time, nor did we really have the knowledge on how to really get the name out there. So that's when we contacted Paul and asked him if he wanted to be a partner, because he was a huge advocate for the bus. And so we figured, bring him in, like he'll be a great asset. And so now here we kind of are.
That's well said, Silas. Cale, what's he leaving out? Anything you want to throw in there?
Not that he necessarily left it out, but like, even though I was kind of the idea person there, I got to give Silas credit, because if he didn't like put his boots to the floor right away, it never would have happened. Because like, I don't mean to say like, oh, I was all talk, but like, it was just like, oh yeah, that's a good idea for me. And then Silas was like, you want to give this a go? And then like, we kind of pushed us, or he kind of pushed us to get ourselves in the right direction. And I'm really glad.
Well, that's an interesting.
Oh, I'm just saying, Cal's like 95% of most high school kids. It's not that the idea is good or bad, but it takes a special partner to push you in motion.
Oh, a special partner?
Yeah. I think that's just the point there, Paul, is there's I even wrote down when you guys were saying it, DJ food truck, various cheeses, because it's so ridiculous sounding and so silly. And that's what it was at the time. I know, based on the story and talking about that part of it before, you guys were just kind of horsing around and joking around, which we all do all the time. And how something like that could evolve into a successful business. And to your point, Cale, you just made, you have to have someone take action. And that's something, I mean, I know you guys know that, you've seen it, you're seeing it, and how important that is, but I'm reiterating it because it's just something Paul and I are constantly talking about here. I'm constantly talking about in life in general. It's action, action, action. I mean, I don't care if it's a stupid DJ food truck or various cheeses. It requires someone doing something to turn into something pretty successful. And they're not always going to be successful, but it's just, I love the story because it's the lesson. And there's people twice your age, 3 times your age, who've had ideas, who've had dreams of being their own boss and doing their own thing. And, my wife and I are hiring some people right now, a kind of a regional manager for us. And I've been talking to a dozen or more people the last 2 days, many of which are saying, I've always wanted to do my thing on my own, but and I don't get into this talk with them, but it makes me sad because the but is I didn't take any action. I was afraid. I had too many commitments. I was leveraged too much, or whatever it might have been. And this lesson's so important for everyone to realize. You got to take action. You got to take a risk. You got to take a chance. And you guys were willing to do that. And what you did wasn't easy. I mean, you had an idea, you had to do some research on it. You realized there was a market for it, especially in our region, right? Where there's a bunch of wineries and there was a marketplace that you saw that was open for it. And then you had to approach someone because you knew you were lacking things, capital in this case, experience, being 18, et cetera, et cetera. And what you did and have done, and I'm not trying to pat you guys on the back too much because I don't like doing that, but
Thanks, Matt.
It's pretty impressive and pretty amazing, and I don't want you to get swelled heads, but it really is. You guys have done a lot, and you took a risk. You were willing to make a phone call to someone you didn't even know that well and present an idea. And you guys did it at 17, and I bet 95% of adults I know have never done it ever. So kudos to you guys, and I just think it's important to mention it. Cale, what's the name of, before we forget this, what's the name of the business? What's the website? And what do we do?
The Cheese Bus.
Yeah.
All right, so we basically sell charcuterie boards. Next season, a little insider trading, I guess. I don't know if that's illegal or not.
Go ahead.
We're looking to get some grilled cheese and mac and cheeses on the bus. And if you want to look it up, the website is pretty simple. It's just thecheesebus.com. Instagram is FLX_cheese_bus. So it's a little more tricky, but I bet you guys can remember it.
Yeah, so do I. But no, I wanted to make sure we mentioned what we do, which is we take the bus, as you guys were saying earlier, and we go to wineries, breweries, anywhere where there's people, and we're a food truck, right? And we had our first year, and we did certain products, and some were more successful than others. We learned from them, and then now next year we're evolving into some more prepared foods and other kinds of things. What, Silas, would you say has been the biggest lesson you took from the summer's experience or the whole experience so far?
Ooh, the biggest lesson. Jeez.
How about this? Let me back up. The biggest positive and the biggest kind of like, oh crap.
So the biggest positive was probably like when we finally hit 10,000 in sales. I remember personally, I don't know for Cale, but I remember personally that was like, wow, I personally have sold $10,000.
Oh, it definitely was
we've sold $10,000 while in high school. Like that was a huge positive. That was a huge milestone for me and Cale and for the whole business, honestly. The biggest negative, it was probably both Cale and I, both our faults. We, a lot of times like we would miss orders. We wouldn't have a certain cheese. We'd have to improvise with another cheese on a board.
Okay.
That would get annoying. That was probably the biggest negative was organization, which next year we'll have fixed, but it was for the first year, it was organization was the biggest negative.
Great. What about you, Cale?
Oh, go ahead, Cal. No, go ahead, Cal.
All right, I definitely agree with Silas. The biggest negative was definitely our organization. Like, it definitely got better throughout the season, but like, it was bad at one point. I remember
us yelling at each other a little bit.
Yeah. It was. I remember when we finally got a broom. That was pretty cool.
It only took us 3 months to buy a broom.
Yeah, we started off with a lightsaber with like some cardboard with some like slits cut into it to work as a broom.
I remember that. Well, again, and Paul, I know you got something to add here. What I was just going to say, the lesson in that again for everyone is, we just started, right? We didn't say, well, everything's got to be perfect before we go out there. We got to know exactly how everything's going to work. And now, does that come with growing pains? You're darn right it does, right? Has its problems. You have your fights amongst each other. You have your frustrations, but you don't start if you want to be perfect before you get out of the block. So I'm glad you guys brought that up because I think it's a good lesson.
Yeah, and Matt, I remember you saying like before our first date, I remember you called us and you're like, "Hey guys, look, I'm going to be real here. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be things that we didn't even think about that are going to go wrong on the first day. Like it's going to happen. They're going to go wrong. You're going to have, I'm not going to be there. You guys are going to have to figure it out. Like, you guys really have to step up here." And I remember Cale and I were both like, "All right, well, I guess we'll just kind of see what happens." And we did. And, a couple of things went wrong, but we figured it out.
As I knew you would.
Matt, I was kind of going to say what you said, that if you waited another year and just prepped and did more research and studied food trucks around the Finger Lakes and waited till this year to start, do you think it would have run smoothly, or would you have run into problems? And the answer is you probably would have run into the same problems, right? So we won't beat that to death anymore. How's your family been with all this?
Good question.
So who's up first?
I guess I'll go. My family, it's honestly family and friends, because I think I consider most of my friends family. A lot of people think it's super cool. A lot of people who haven't met Cale in my family want to meet Cale solely because of the bus. They just think it's really cool. yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of people, I mean, people come up to me that I've never met. Cale had it happen too, that are just like, hey, you guys are the cheese bus guys. And we're, yeah, it's like, I guess that's me now. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of, I mean, like we did get a lot of praise and whatnot for hard work and determination. And, I mean, I did, Cale and I both, like we did think about it, like, yeah, what we're doing is pretty cool. A lot of people don't do it, but you also have to remember, like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but you have to do it. Like we have an obligation, we have responsibilities. Like, yes, it's very cool. And you can be praised all you want, but at the end of the day, there's work that has to be done and there's responsibilities. So, you know,
So you kind of got a little far from the original family question, but
yeah, I did.
my parents were honestly super concerned that I don't like burn a hole in my future with, like, they were very concerned with the risk of it. But I went through with it anyways, because even though I was 17, like this was kind of my choice. And as they started to see like the work we put into it and that we were taking it seriously, they definitely like flipped a switch and were incredibly supportive. My dad actually paid for our first shipment of shirts with like the old logo on it, which still kind of holds a little retro place in my heart, even though it's been like
The retro bus merch.
Yeah, like the vintage shirts. Yeah, but like everyone has been incredibly supportive of us basically from the start. The second anyone finds out about it, like they love it. Like Silas was saying, like people recognize us. I remember the day after our very first gig when we were on the news and stuff, I was in the gym and this random old guy walked up to me and I was like, oh great, what's this gonna be? Like just some old guy walking up to me and goes, I think I recognize you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I guess he like saw it on the news and stuff. And like, he was one of the first people to like congratulate me about it. And it just felt really cool.
Yeah, I remember the news there, and that was a cool moment for the business, and that reminds me of remember the attention we got from the New York State Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
God, that was bad.
Yeah, talk about some of the barriers, and like this wasn't smooth sailing. Sometimes it feels like you're taking 2 steps backward to go forward one, right?
Yeah. I actually have one story that I can tell that it's not really a barrier, but it would have actually postponed the business for a while. It was funny after the fact. We actually never told Matt this. It was the day that we left your house with the bus, the first day we had the bus. Okay. And it was a freaking blizzard.
Oh
God.
God.
We were driving back and Cale, I don't know why I gave Cale the keys, and Cale was driving and we're going up this hill and into like Tyrone, that hill there. And we're going up this hill and all of a sudden we start to slow down and the bus starts to drift way over to the ditch. I mean, like we are like almost in the ditch.
And the wheels turn like all the way the other way.
Cale's yanking the wheel. I'm like, Cale, freaking floor it. And he floors it and we lose like half a tank of gas, but we made it. But I mean, like the back wheels were just spinning. The front of the bus was going everywhere. So it was pretty, that's something I'll never forget, being 17, almost crashing a short bus.
Because it was such a bad snowstorm that we didn't have school because of it. So we thought, oh yeah, let's just go drive a short bus all the way back to Watkins from Bath. And like we're going up the hill, the back right tire is like just spinning out of control. It's like this steep, or maybe not that steep, but it's bad. And Silas is like shaking in his little boots back there. I'm trying to keep it together in the driver's seat, and I'm just absolutely not.
I was so prepared to call Matt and be like, Matt, we don't have a bus anymore.
Well, we would have done the only thing you can do, get it fixed and move on. But it is funny because those memories are created when you're doing your own thing that you just don't get with other things necessarily, and you'll remember them and laugh about them forever. I'm glad nobody got hurt, first of all, but that's all part of the fun. And if you're not having fun with this kind of stuff, and it's not all fun, of course, but if you're not having fun with it and create memories, then you're missing out there too.
That's awesome. So, what are you guys doing now? I mean, the cheese bus, the tourist season's winding down a little. We were doing weekends with the bus. Tell the viewers what you guys are up to now. I mean, life goes on when you're running a business too, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we're both in college right now. South is at Albany. I'm just up at community college in Canandaigua. So it's not like too far or anything. I guess I'm going for winemaking, which has been pretty fun. But next semester, I'm actually looking to take some business classes, just kind of help with the bus and stuff. But not doing anything quite as exciting as driving a short bus now that that season's over.
And what about you, Silas?
Like Cale said, I'm up in Albany. I'm having a good time. It's fun. I like it up here. I'm right now, as of for the next couple weeks until the semester ends, I'm a criminal justice major. But next semester, and as of right now, I want to graduate with a business degree with a focus in entrepreneurship, for obvious reasons, and then a minor in criminal justice. And yeah, I mean, that's both going to help with the bus, and then also for my personal like chosen career, I want to be a state trooper. And so a business degree, it looks better than a criminal justice degree because when you talk to people in the criminal justice field, everyone says don't major in criminal justice, because once you get your job, they teach you all the criminal justice you need to know anyway. So take something else. And I chose business because I already own one, so may as well learn more about it.
Thank you. Hey, Cal, when you were coming home most weekends from college, did your friends or suite mates or anything like that think that was weird that you weren't staying up at school, or did they admire you, or what were their thoughts, or weren't there any?
You know, my roommate Tony actually, like, he'd say something like, "You're never here on weekends." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've got to go drive a short bus." That's just kind of my response to anything these days. It kind of throws people off. They get a little confused. But like, people are definitely like, "Oh, why are you home all the time?" And it's like, I gotta work, man. It's not even like I even hated working or anything because it's kind of fun. But yeah,
So,
it
so,
was kind of weird going back every weekend.
so what do kids, the your friends, kids your age, whatever, what do they, the new people you meet basically at college? I mean, when this comes up, which, I don't know how often it does, but I mean, do they think it's cool? You're crazy? Do they have questions? Like, where's it go from
Yeah,
there?
so actually, I have a pretty good story about this. So like on the back of my phone case, I have a cheese bus sticker because why not? It's awesome. And I just had my phone like face down on my desk in a stats class, like probably the first week. And the kid that sits next to me, his name's Connor. He was like, "Oh, that's a cool sticker." I was like, "Yeah, it's actually my food truck." And like 10 minutes later, he was like looking up the cheesebus.com. He was looking at the t-shirts and stuff. And he was like, "That's really cool." Like, I don't think he's ever really going to go to the bus because I'm pretty sure he's from Rochester or something. Shout out Connor, wherever you're at. But it was just kind of cool. Like someone saw the sticker and was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like, that's awesome that you do that." And was like looking it up. So of course not the next day, this was like 2 weeks ago now. So like bit of time in between, I put a sticker in the campus gym right on the bench there so that everyone will see it, or at least anything worthwhile.
Good thinking.
Silas, you have a cheese bus sticker story. Remember where you put one?
Oh yeah, I put one in Times Square. Yeah, so then the Big Apple will know of the cheese bus, because I know that once we get so big that we have a New York City cheese bus, because it's bound to happen. And I'm gonna, yeah, I'll just be like, "Hey, 10 years ago I put a sticker here." I don't know, I just put it there because I honestly thought of it as like a funny business post for the cheese bus's Instagram. I was like, "Hey, look, cheese bus in New York City," and that was it. So
Well, on that subject, I mean, where do you guys, hope this goes in 10 years or 5 years or 30 years? I mean, how are you looking at this, at this business personally?
You know, if I'm being honest, 10 years is like half my life. I haven't even thought about thinking about looking that far forward.
All
I
right,
just
touche,
kind of focus on,
touche.
like,
That's
2 to 3 years. But like we said before, like we want to start adding more like hot food, like food to the menu. So like that's kind of the priority right now. But unless Silas has anything else, like our current plan is just like add a bus here and there as time goes on. But
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
nothing
like
set in stone.
there's endless options. I mean, like you could really, I mean, if it gets big enough, you could really do anything with it. I mean, you could even make like the cheese bus restaurant. Like you could do anything you wanted. Personally, I don't care where it goes. I just want to see it grow and not go the other way. I just want to see it grow, and you know, I think it'd be really cool to have employees, and I think that'd be just a great milestone. But like I said, grow and not go the other way, and that's kind of how it is.
you and I spoke. When we talked with Cale and Silas a while ago, we were talking about maybe expanding. And remember how I hate saying this stuff like publicly on video, but we were impressed that they didn't want to expand. They wanted to improve the systems on the one bus we have and continue from there. And you guys touched based on it earlier. If we don't improve the systems we have, it's not going to matter what we try to do after that point. And Matt, I mean, right, we were pretty impressed by that, especially you owning, you know, multiple businesses that rely on systems. We didn't ask them to do that. They kind of came out and said that themselves.
Yeah, we were impressed by that because it showed such a realization where the priority needs to be, and that you guys see that and got it. And because the easy answer would have been, let's add another bus, let's add 2 buses, without any sense of what does that really mean at the end of the day. And when we had that conversation, what was it, a week or so ago, and you guys were totally unanimous behind that, and like had it wasn't even a question to you. It was, this is what we need to do. This is what's best for the business. This is what we have to do to make this business, perform better and grow more. It was a really eye-opening sign for me, and probably I know for Paul as well, that that you guys were looking at this in a proper manner, and it would have been easy to get lost in the, no, let's add this, let's add that, but that wasn't the way you guys took it, and that really meant a lot to me, because it just showed me a lot about you two, and obviously I had to take a chance in the beginning on you two. I can't believe I did, but I have been more impressed than not with you guys and your work ethic and how you see things, and you've grown a lot and come a long way, and it's going to, and you guys will probably roll your eyes, but this is going to mean more to you guys in your future and down the line. And I'm not talking financially. I just mean in terms of your personal growth than I think you realize, and hopefully financially too. But the personal growth department, you guys are a step ahead of most, and it's it's because of what you guys have chosen to do, and I'm just proud of you both, and I'm like Paul, I don't like complimenting you, especially something that's recorded, but it's true, and that discussion was another example of that to me.
I kind of wanted to ask a question. I know it's not really, but I want to ask a question. Matt, what did you what were your thoughts when you saw a call from me, and it was me and Cale, and we were like, hey man, you want to be a partner?
You want to give us money?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's a great question, because I remember it all very well too. I mean, I'll tell you what I remember. There's a couple things. I think the first conversation we had together is, it was discussed as your business idea, and you were talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had to do a project for the class, and that's where the idea may have evolved for that project. Am I right on that? Yeah. And then when we talked the first time, you'd said, look, we want to do this as a project for a class, but we think there's something here, a real business here. We'd like to really take it seriously and look and see if we can do that. Now, whether you guys had in mind at that time, needing someone like me or asking me. I don't know, but that's not how the initial conversation went. It was more, it was more, give us some advice. And I remember talking about, who's the customers, where could the bus go? Some of those marketing, sales, operational kind of things that we discussed. And that's how the first meeting kind of came and went. And I remember coming home and, talking to Cassie, my wife, who you guys know, and she was asking about the meeting. And I told her about it. And I said, I don't know if they're going to ask me if I want to be an investor or be a part of it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do based on that conversation. And she said, well, if they do, what are you going to say? And I said, I really think they're serious about this. And I talk a lot about, you got to do this and you should do that. And these are the best way to make decisions. But I also try to put my money where my mouth is. And Paul, you can attest to that with how I've supported some other things within the class and other things that my wife and I do in the community. And here you guys were, the two 17-year-old students coming to me later on saying, hey, we want to have another meeting. And we want you to basically help finance this thing and be our partner and that kind of thing. And I was very much interested because I was willing to put my money where my mouth is. You guys seemed committed and excited about it. It was a good idea. If you guys came to me and said you wanted to, develop the pet rock, I would have said no. But you had a good idea and you were serious about it. And I honestly felt like, yeah, this is an opportunity to again put my money where my mouth is and not just be one of these people who just talks and doesn't take any action. So it was how you guys approached me. It was your commitment to it. It was the fact that you had somewhat of a plan as much as you could have at the time. And I was willing and excited to, to take that chance with you, and still am. So I definitely, it was definitely unique. It was the first pitch I ever had from 17-year-olds. I'll tell you that. And it was also, you guys had information and you knew what you were trying to do, and you didn't come in blind and just kind of like, well, I don't know, just give us some money and anything like that. And but do you remember after we had that conversation, I said I think I said I'd consider it or whatever, but I wanted you guys to go back and come back to me with what you thought the best ownership structure was. You guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember being like, that was just like a scary response for some reason. Like,
Yeah.
You guys tell me what you're thinking, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I remember thinking like, oh, what am I even supposed to be like thinking right now?
I remember looking at Cale. I mean, like, what are we supposed to do? Like,
what does that even mean?
5%? Like, what? Like, what does this guy want? Like 95%, and then we split up.
Like Shark Tank without any like rules.
Yeah, like we split up the tips. Like, I remember you said like, you guys, I remember you were like, guys, like I think it's a great idea and I'd be willing to partner with you. And, but I want you guys to come back with what you think would be the best partnership. And I remember like we ended the call and it's just like, Jesus, like what? and
What do we do now?
Yeah, well, like what do we do now? So I remember Cale and I just kind of sat in my room for a little while, like talking about it. And then we threw you the number and you were like, that's more or less exactly what I was thinking. And we were like, well, Cale and I, to be honest, kind of shot in the dark on that one. And it ended up working really well. And so, yeah.
Well, I'll be totally honest with you, about it. It was very deliberate, the reason I did that. I could have thrown out all sorts of things. I looked at this right from the beginning, and I still do to a degree, although like this, I looked at this as this is going to be a lesson for you guys and a time to learn something. And I never wanted to be the one who dictated anything because frankly, you guys obviously are younger and don't have the experience and you can call me anything you want, but I think at the end of the day, I try to be fair. And I knew exactly what I thought a fair partnership would be, in my opinion. but I wasn't going to throw it out there. I wanted you guys to be the one to present it. And I told you, you may not remember it, but I meant it with all my heart. If you come back with something that I don't think is fair, and I meant more like you were more likely to want to give me more ownership because I'm older and had the capital and more experience, it would have been very natural for you guys to go, we would just want to get a deal done. We'll give them whatever we think will get the deal done. It would have been very natural for you to do that. I wanted to see if you're going to do that, but I was never going to take advantage. I was going to get to where we ended up getting, because I wanted you to be engaged. I wanted you to feel ownership and committed and all those other things, but I also wasn't interested in taking advantage of you. And so it was funny. It was deliberate. I knew exactly what I was doing. And believe me, I took more pleasure in it than you realize.
Matt was having a great time, and Cale and I are freaking scared out of our minds, just sitting there like.
I started just looking at you like, what does that even mean? What kind of number is this supposed to like? Is it supposed to be 3? Is it supposed to be 300?
I remember like putting 100 into the calculator to see like what all like how you could divide it.
That's so great. I mean, that's a better story than I even hoped for. But I mean, what a great thing to go through. Maybe at the time you weren't thrilled with it, but I mean, what a great experience to have to do. Most people don't deal with that. That's so cool that and then you guys came back and we negotiated it, had our conversation, and then got attorneys involved and actually did a real business and the whole thing. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I remember you saying I'll get my attorney. I remember you saying to Cale and I over the phone, like, all right, I'll get my attorney to sign some stuff. And I remember looking at Cale like, you know what that means? And he was like, no. And I was like, all right, well, I guess we just kind of roll with it and see what happens. Like, I didn't know what the hell.
Half the things he said in the beginning, we'd just be like, oh, yeah, that makes, like, that's normal. Yeah, of course. Then we'd look at each other.
Of course, your attorney, get him that.
Yeah, like, I'll get my attorney. Like, what?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I'll have my guy talk to your guy real quick.
Matt, are you seeing why I almost didn't take him into the class?
Oh, yeah, in fact, it must have been a tough one.
I'm kidding. But Matt and I talk about this a lot. That's what really society needs more of, people that just want to take action and do things and not get all bogged down. I mean, the biggest problem a lot of my students have is the first time we have an assignment that doesn't really have any barriers or parameters or almost a deadline, they don't even know what to do because they want me to tell them what to do, and then they just spit it back out at me and get a 99 and they're happy. Like, there was no roadmap to what these guys did in my class. It was just like, all right. And they'd be like, hey, we're leaving today. We're going on a meeting with Matt. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Right. And we need more of that. I mean, we need more. I don't want to say we need more Cale and Silas's. That could be scary. But we need more guys that take action. And Matt and I have witnessed several times how you've taken some feedback and I don't want to say pivoted, but you've recalibrated, and we're doing big changes for next year and working on systems. And that's why I believe in it so much. And regardless of where this goes, in my heart, I believe you guys are going to pursue a lot more opportunities. I mean, this one's going to stay with us for a while, but I don't think Matt and I will be your last business partners. That's what I'm just saying.
I hope not. You guys are too old. I have something entirely unrelated, guys. It's going to come like straight out of left field. Have I ever showed you guys my Hot Wheel?
I don't think. I mean, obviously we have we had Hot Wheels
right
before.
There she is. It's the first car I've ever owned. It's a Volvo wagon. What was that?
That was like your real car you drove that blew up, wasn't it?
It is. Like it's the exact one. I carry it in my pocket every day to the point that the paint is gone on this side and it's got scratch marks, and I'm pretty sure Sal's tried to light it on fire once.
What does it represent, Cale? What's the purpose of it?
I saw a yellow one at Walmart one time and thought it was really cool. And then I found a red one, and I don't know why I just carried it in my pocket. Like, it's nice to like flick the wheels sometimes, I guess.
So it's your
may be,
it's your fidget spinner is what it is.
Yeah,
So-
basically.
There's no reason for the things Cale does a lot of times.
No,
He
Hot
just
Wheel
does it.
Surf has no purpose, but I love it.
well, I think there's probably a psychologist out there somewhere who's probably could answer that question much better than we can.
Yeah, I hope none of your viewers have a PhD or anything, because like I'm gonna get some weird emails otherwise.
Hey
Well, I
guys,
thought it had something to do with our cheese board Hot Wheel thing. So
Oh no. Oh, that would have been a cool answer though. Like, oh
You-
yeah,
you know,
what's up with this?
that's another thing. I remember, so to our viewers, a couple things they've done this summer, Matt, like when they came up with the idea for the race board, and of course we have the Finger Lakes, we have Watkins Glen International. You guys are from Watkins Glen, big race town. When they wanted to put a dollar Matchbox car on a charcuterie board at a winery with all these people, I'm like, that, I go home, I went home to my wife and I go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I know,
And
Paul.
she's-
You were really I remember you like didn't you really like that was the only idea that you like actually didn't believe in. And
The
I remember
man
Cale was just like, I really don't
Jack and
care.
Jam together was against the Hot Wheel.
But
Yeah,
then,
I
then,
remember
then
Cale was just
I
like, this is gonna happen.
I go to places. I remember the one story I heard, this couple was on vacation and they got a charcuterie board, and whatever Hot Wheel you gave him was like reminiscence of his first car he had when he toured the Glen or something like that. I'm like, come on, did these guys plant this guy there? Like that shouldn't even happen. And then so they're racing around, people are racing them in breweries and wineries, and I'm like, what is going on? And collecting them, and I saw people trade them once. I'm like, come on. And then
Hot Wheels are
Cal,
just awesome.
similar story when we had to come up with the harvest board this fall. We put little skeleton zombie figures on the charcuterie board, and people are fighting with them. It's like, who knows what's going to bring out customer satisfaction, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned. I still think most of your ideas are stupid, but I don't say anything anymore.
And they are stupid, honestly. I mean, they are dumb ideas, but I mean, like honestly, I think it's like the uniqueness of the bus. Like it's just two 18-year-olds driving around in a bus. And I mean, we have like a set charcuterie board, but we add things to it, like skeletons or Hot Wheels or whatever. And I think that's what keeps the fun of the bus.
Yeah, like when Stas and I were talking about the racer board, we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna put a Hot Wheel on it. And we were both like, oh yeah, that's the dumbest thing in the world. People are gonna think it's stupid, but it's awesome. Like it's unique. And there was this one time so Watkins does this like vintage race every fall. And there's that weekend we were up at Lakewood, and they always choose like one set car. I think it was Alfa Romeo this year, and some guy got an Alfa Romeo and like came back to the bus and was like, oh my god, I was in town for the vintage race and like I drove an Alfa Romeo and was super excited about it. I was like, yeah, that's what's up, man. Cheese bus.
Cheese bus.
No, I think again, you guys just take action, and I guess you're the first two kids I've ever met where doing before thinking is good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Like Cale and I really like to have fun, like with whatever we do. So I mean, like I think it worked out really well that we don't own like an Apple or whatever. Like we own a cheese bus, and yeah, it's serious, but it's really fun. Like it's a fun thing to do. It's a unique thing for people to see, take pictures with, buy from, like anything. Like it's just cool. Like it's honestly, I think for most people, like you see a bus that looks like a giant block of cheese, and it's like, well, what is that? Like you don't see it every day.
No doubt, and we've learned that it is cool, and people do find it really cool. And I think that's the first we've said that the bus actually looks like a giant piece of cheese rolling down the road. And yes, it's attention getting, and it's local small business, young entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, we all know you got to deliver a good product, good service to keep people coming back, and we all know that, and that's always in the back of our mind. But we definitely have a unique business, and one that we're all proud of, and proud to continue to try to promote and make even more successful.
I think that was one thing that Cale and I we kind of talked about honestly between ourselves is like, I mean, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Cale and I, we got a lot of recognition when we started the bus. I mean, we had the news, we had family, we had people call, like we got a lot of recognition. And yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I mean, it was honestly cool. Like, you know, we were set apart. It was almost like we were set apart from the rest of our class, you know, like we were doing this thing together and we had other people involved. We had the news when we were doing this thing. But I remember like talking to Cale, I mean, like, okay, so when this wears off, like we need to have a good business. Like when it wears off that it's two teenagers doing it, like we need to have something that's actually that people actually want to come back to and not just go to once because they think it's cool to help out local teenagers. And I think we did a good job of that by having merchandise and like promoting ourselves pretty well. And then I know Paul did a great job of like always just like getting our name out there and talking about us all the time. And I think that really helped keep our name alive after the media recognition.
That's really well said.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to end by asking you both, what advice would you give new business owners, or what vision do you have moving forward? I was going to give you a couple questions to choose from, but Silas, you kind of just answered. I think that's a good ending for you.
That was really good.
Thanks.
Cale, talk to us. You can take the question, what advice would you give to somebody in high school moving forward? Or what advice would you give a new business owner, even though you're a new business owner? Or what vision do you have for your future?
You know, I'll go with the high school one because in high school, I really didn't do that much besides the cheese bus. I mean, you were my teacher, you know that. I think I handed in maybe like 3 English assignments a semester. And even though like it kind of worked out for me, because like I was just good at taking tests, like you've got to bear down a bit. And the bus really showed me that. Like you can't just go through life just doing the ideas and just doing the bare minimum. Like at some point you've got to strap your boots on and you've got to actually work. And I never did that in high school. So if you want to leg up on people, I guess do that.
It's a great answer. It's a great answer.
It is a great answer. A lot of people have your same thoughts in high school, but they never change. They never mature.
Yeah.
Guys, this was fabulous. I mean, Matt and I have been waiting to have you on for a while. Like I said, we just needed you to turn into that mature Cheez-It, you know.
I mean, I don't think we'll ever be mature, but
I'll always be a Cheez-It, but I won't be mature.
I'm impressed you held it together this long.
I might turn into like an extra toasty Cheez-It though.
I'm proud of Cale.
Yeah, you guys did a good job, and you know, we'll revisit with you maybe before the summer or maybe after the summer and talk about what new we have going on. But you know, we'll definitely come back again here in one of those, wouldn't you say, Paul? In one of those time frames and get you again, because I think it'd be fun for people to hear more about what we're doing and how you guys are doing and that kind of thing. Because I do think what you guys had to say really resonates with people in a lot of ways, and I think that's fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be
excited to see if we get followers from this or anything, like on the Cheese Bus page.
I haven't told you, I'm not really gonna publish this. I'm kidding.
We're just here for fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna. And no, you guys have great awareness, and we were so happy to have you on, and blessed to be business partners, and looking forward to the future. Hey, have a great night, guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming on.
See you guys.
Night, guys.
Yep, bye.